a former deputy. I did work on the Dupnick. I do know the intricacies of the department. I know where the problems lie, and I know how to resolve them. I didn't join this race just on January 8th of last year. I didn't join it because of July 2010 when Dupnick came out and spoke out against SB 1070. I decided that there needed to be a change in that office 10 years ago when I left. The leadership is not where it's supposed to be. The deputies are afraid to do their job and be proactive and prevent crime from happening, because if the commanders don't like you, or a lieutenant doesn't like you, or a sergeant doesn't like you, you have a target on your back. So every time you may do something wrong, as minute as it is, you're going to be reprimanded. And I don't think that is, I believe that creates a hostile environment, to be honest with you. How many of you guys live here in Pima County? How many know who the sheriff is? Okay. Just last Thursday, Sheriff Dupnick came out and announced that he was going to run for re-election again. His top priorities is this. He wants to continue to maintain and improve the jail. He also wants to maintain and try and lower the rate of crime. So my question is this: what have you been doing for the last 30 years? The jail is a mainstay. If you don't have that down pat in 30 years, you need to leave. You shouldn't even think about running again. I currently do private investigations. I do 90% criminal defense work. I believe that plays to my advantage because I know, as a former law enforcement officer and now working on the defense side, what defense attorneys attack. And if your report is not accurate, or if there's any flaws in your report, or they can't be read because your penmanship is horrible, the case just gets stronger for the defense. Trust me, I know. One of the things I want to do is institute a cybercrime unit. I also want to institute a crime, white-collar crime unit. It's ironic that Mr. Jenny was here and spoke about his experience. I also want to bring back the posse. Does anyone know what the posse is? A posse consists of volunteers that, when called upon in time of need, come and enforce the laws and do the and perform the responsibilities of a commissioned officer. Okay? Only the sheriff can special deputize somebody. What I want to do with the posse when I bring it back is have them consist of law enforcement officers, former law enforcement officers. And I don't care if they're from New York, I don't care if they're from Florida, Seattle, wherever they're from. If they move here, and they want to be part of the posse, I'm going to welcome them. Because they have law enforcement experience, I'm going to be able to utilize that. I don't have to worry about training them. I don't have to worry about your money going somewhere to train somebody who's already trained. It takes about $75,000 to train a deputy from the time he applies or she applies for the job through the academy. That doesn't include FTO. It doesn't include Advanced Basic Academy. And it doesn't include the next 8 months while they're on probation. $75,000 per recruit. So with the posse, what I plan to do is institute a task force. We have a major issue with, anybody know what UDAs are? Illegal immigrants. Undocumented aliens, okay? That's what they are. So you'll hear me say UDAs. We have a problem because they come in through a rough terrain. The border is a federal issue, but once they cross over, it becomes a state issue, it becomes a county issue, it becomes a local municipality issue. The Sheriff's Department knows where these routes are. Just a month and a half ago, they found in a heavily traveled UDA route a skull, a pelvis bone, and a leg. It's been there for a while, obviously. They just don't go and patrol these areas. So what I plan to do is not only get a hold of the local leadership in law enforcement, that is Tucson, Marana, Oro Valley, Santa Rita now has a department, Tohono O'odham, and Pasco Yaqui. Those two, the last two, are very important. Does anybody know why? Exactly. They still track. They still track. Tohono O'odham, their reservation goes into Mexico. Who do you think knows their terrain better than they do? Nobody. Nobody. So I want to start a task force in which we get those people from those agencies involved, not to secure the border, but to control those routes. Because those UDAs are just not coming up here for jobs. Human smuggling, they're carrying drugs, whether it's methamphetamine, coke, heroin, pot, doesn't matter. They're carrying up here, and it's not just a couple pounds here and there. The county attorney, as far as that goes, will only prosecute if it's over 2 pounds. So if you carry under 2 pounds, you're golden. Don't do it though. But what that perpetuates to is the more violent crimes. You have a stash house, whether it's human smuggling, whether it's drugs, you have a stash house, your rivals are going to know about it. And they're going to go in and commit home invasions, which can lead, and most of the time does, lead up to homicides. I would say that 80%, I don't know the exact number, but 80% of the homicides here are drug related. Tucson is the drug hub capital of the Southwest. So we need to be able to combat that, and we need to take a proactive approach to it. I wouldn't accept just officers from this state. There are counties and other states like Maryland, New Jersey that are willing to supply officers. They have to be accepted, and this sheriff does not want to do it. Because his motto is, if there's a big problem, there's a big issue. Small problem, small issue. No problem, no issue. Get the picture? Guy doesn't want to know if there's an issue. He just doesn't want to know, because then he doesn't have to address it. He doesn't have to address it. Right now, currently, his budget is $121 million. That is just taxpayers' dollars. Just taxpayers. That's your property taxes going to his department, $121 million. That does not include any state or federal grants that they apply for and receive. That doesn't count with RICO seizures. That's money that if they make an arrest and there's a vehicle or there's cash inside a vehicle or what have you, if it's drug related, and they show that those were the proceeds from drug money, they get 40% of that. Part of it goes to the county and part of it goes to the state. Okay, so they get 40% of that. So that right now is undetermined, obviously, because they don't know how many seizures you're going to have. But when Dupnick came out in July of 2010 and spoke out about SB 1070, saying he's not going to enforce it until he told it was a law, which in fact it was a law when he said that, cost this department $1.1 million because the state Senate withheld that money from the game tax funds because he would not enforce this law if necessary.